I never want to see a box again. Anyway, so here comes the fact. My last 2 reviews performed somewhat worse than I expected. So I threw a survey on Twitter asking people if they want to see more Foxy-Thoughts or if I should focus on reviewing Season 7. Those who voted seem to prefer that I do more Foxy-Thoughts. But I'm also aware that those few don't exactly represent my entire audience, so please let me know what you guys think in the comments. But since I got those survey results, I'm going to use this opportunity for a test run and do something else. Rock Solid Friendship was a rock solid episode. The revelation that Maud actually helped Starlight to set up her tone was quite hilarious. It also gave me some things I've been asking for some time. Maud shows more emotions and Starlight appears in an episode, but is not the focused, yet still part of the story. Only Pinky is a bit obnoxious, but it served a point, so I can forgive that. But what really intrigued me about this episode is the friendship between Maud and Starlight and what it could mean for future episodes. Let me explain where I'm going with this. When Starlight was redeemed, it seemed like she was added as a new member to the main 6, turning them into the main 7. But throughout Season 6, it never really seemed like she's actually part of this group. This is of course thanks to her being absent in every episode that is not all about her, and she only interacts with Twilight or Spike most of the time, while she only shares a couple of scenes with the rest of the main 6. While I still think that it is to be blamed on bad writing, my friend Great suggested something else in our All Bottled Up collab. He commented that Starlight and by extension Trixie are now part of a new character tier. What does that mean? Well, before Season 6 we basically had 2 groups of characters the show tended to focus on. The main 6, including Spike, and the Cutie Mark Crusaders. Of course there's also the occasional Discord or Luna episode, but the focus is usually on these 10. Now when Starlight was redeemed, it seemed like she would join the main 6 group, but Great suggests that she is actually part of a new set of characters he labeled Misfits. While I'm not sure if that's a fitting name, I can see how this would make sense, especially if you consider that she actually shares most of her screen time with Trixie. Trixie also got promoted from a minor character that appeared in 2 episodes to a major recurring run by befriending Starlight. And frankly, I kinda think that's the idea with Maud as well, considering that she not only befriended Starlight, but also moved to Ponyville, which hints that we see more of her in the future. Starlight is slowly forming her own circle of friends, which is pretty awesome, but it made me wonder, will more ponies join this group? I thought it might be fun to discuss who might join Starlight's main 6. Not that they have to be 6, but you get the idea. Before I give you my list of potential candidates, I want to address some characters I would like to see more of, but probably won't join Starlight's group. Those characters being Rara and Cheese Sandwich. Considering they are both voiced by guest stars, you can't expect them to appear more than once in a season. Discord is similar in this regard. He gets 1 episode per season and might show up in premieres and finales. That's about it. Which is somewhat disappointing considering he already befriended Starlight and Trixie. Forex would also be a possibility if he wasn't a Changeling King. I'm sure we will see him occasionally, but not as part of the main roster. Another obvious choice would be Sunburst, but apparently he is not leaving the Crystal Empire anytime soon. Anyway, now let's dig into my list. We kick things off with someone who might already be considered part of this character group, none other than Spike. I know that I already mentioned him as part of the main 6, but frankly, so far he was nothing more than a tag-along kid. When the main 6 do something, he is often not around. Sometimes they explain why, other times he is just not there, putting him in a similar position to Starlight. And he doesn't really interact that much with most of them either. He only spends time with Rarity and Twilight, and the one time they tried to team him up with Applejack made no one happy. Not to mention that the entire group tends to patronize him a lot. Even Twilight and Rarity. On the other part, his relationship with Starlight is rather different. They seem to be genuine friends and they treat each other as equals. Spike understands Starlight pretty well, probably a bit better than Twilight, and has been portrayed as rather supportive of her. Not to mention that him staying with Starlight and Trixie to read some comics instead of joining the main 6 on their team building exercise in All Bottled Up could be an indicator that he prefers Starlight's company a bit more. And speaking of Trixie, I could actually see those 2 team up in future episodes as well. Trixie's overblown ego would probably mesh pretty well with his sarcastic commentary. Not to mention that he can be pretty egocentric as well. Those 2 would probably end up bickering a lot, but I can see them becoming friends. I can also see him befriending Maud, considering they both have a rather similar sense of humor, and they could probably bond over gems, considering that Maud knows a lot about them, and it has been implied that some gems taste better than others. I could see those two go gem hunting to try out a recipe or something like that. Next up on my list is Big Mac. People want to see more of Big Mac since season 1. He finally got an episode in season 5 with Brother Who's Social. He also played a somewhat prominent role in Dungeons and Discord and Where the Apple Lies. But I'm sure I'm not the only one who wants to see more of this big red pony. Now the difficult part is how he would work in this group. He and Starlight are probably not on very good terms after she put a spell on him during their first meeting, but that could actually make for an interesting plot point, that they become friends even though they had a rough start. His humble and quiet aptitude would also serve as a very nice contrast to Trixie's loud and egocentric personality, and he's already pals with Spike, so maybe that's how they get to know each other. My third suggestion is some pony many fans want to see again for quite some time now. I'm talking of course about Lightning Dust. Lightning Dust was a pretty interesting character. The fact that Spitfire went from praising her to seemingly kicking her out of the academy for doing what she has been praised for seems quite harsh, and it wasn't a satisfying send-off. I would like to see her learn her lesson, becoming a better person. What concerns me a bit is that her relationship with Starlight could end up too similar to Starlight's relationship to Trixie. But then again, Lightning Dust has the abilities to back her claims up. Still, I could see Trixie and Lightning Dust as a pair of friendly rivals, similar to AJ and Rainbow Dash in some episodes. The next run-up is Shirley. Shirley always has been one of the more prominent ponies in Ponyville and a fan favorite, so I think it would make a lot of sense to give her an overall bigger role. And her having a girls' night out with Trixie and Starlight after work sounds like a rather fun idea. It's a bit hard to tell how she would interact with Starlight, Trixie or Maud, but I would see her as a straight mare to their shenanigans. And that's about it. Well, to finish things off, I guess there are a couple of background ponies that might make the jump to main character. I think that Vine Scratch, Bong Bong and Lyra are the most probable candidates. Out of all background ponies, these three seem to get the most love by Hasbro and DHX. Especially Vine Scratch seems to appear a lot lately, and she's actually part of the Raymoons in Equestria Girls. And since Slice of Life, we also see much more of Lyra and Bong Bong. They got their own friendship game chance to boot, and even a chapter book. While I think it's rather unlikely, I think those three have the best shots at becoming major characters in future episodes. Of course, there's also the possibility that they instead introduce new characters, or maybe I'm overthinking the whole thing, but what about you? Do you think Starlight is forming her own circle of friends that will function similar to the main six? Who do you think Starlight should befriend? Let me know in the comments. I am Tricky Fox. Stay foxy.
Sly as a fox, you got me under your spell. But you know I'll never tell that I know you know so well. Sometimes you can be too smart.